Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us and the team here at WGU, Open edX and CBAN. We're just going to give our fellow participants the chance to enter the waiting room and then we'll get started. Great. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Annie Cellini. I'm thrilled to be here with the team to talk about a very exciting partnership between WGU and Open edX. We want to talk a little bit today about how we are working together to scale solutions to accelerate competency-based education. And for a little bit of context, before I ask our panelists to introduce themselves, I just wanted to say a little bit about competency-based education and why we are so particularly excited about this work. Competency-based learning empowers learners to take control of their education by focusing on developing the skills and knowledge they need to be successful in their careers. Competency-based learning offers several advantages for learners, shifting the focus from seat time to demonstrated mastery. With a focus on real-world skills, CBE's emphasis on practical skills and workforce readiness can help underserved learners gain the credentials they need to secure meaningful employment. This can lead to increased economic mobility and improved life outcomes. In this webinar, we'll discuss WGU, a leader in competency-based education, and their recent announcement to contribute to Open edX's developer community as a mission-aligned organization, the first, in fact. We will discuss approaches to CBE, technology implications, and how these tools can support faculty and instructional designers. So I want to thank you all for being here. And if we can just take a second for you all to introduce yourselves, your role, briefly your organization, and your focus here. And maybe we'll start with Amber, and if you can just popcorn around the room, hand it off to the next person. Amber, when you're ready.
Wonderful. Good morning, afternoon, depending on where you are. Such a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm Amber Garrison Duncan. I'm the Executive Vice President at the Competency-Based Education Network, where we are proud to advance the revolutionary approach that's called CBE, transforming how we design, experience, and measure learning throughout a lifetime. A longtime partner and leader in that is WGU, so it's always an honor to be able to shine a light on the amazing work that's happening in the field, and certainly that's what we're here to do today, is to really celebrate the amazing work that's happening and what it means for the field. So thanks for the opportunity to join, and I will pass it on to Courtney.
Hi, it's great to be here with everyone. My name is Courtney McBeth. I'm the Chief Academic Officer and Provost at WGU, and I've been in this role for just over a year now. And WGU is an amazing institution, and it's been really wonderful to collaborate with Axim and the entire team, and to be able to be here today to talk a little bit more about what we're doing. And there's a foot of snow on the ground here, so all of us wanted to go skiing today, but rather we're here talking with you. So greetings from our headquarters, which are in Salt Lake City, Utah. We also have offices in Mexico, a tech team in Mexico, also in multiple states around the country, Raleigh and Nashville, etc. So just to give you a little bit of context, we'll talk more about WGU in a minute. David?
Hi, everyone. My name is David Perkinson. I'm the leader of the program development team here at Western Governors University. We are the team that produces and maintains all of WGU's academic content. So all of our courses, programs, and assessments all go through someone on my team. We also work really closely with David Morales, who's joining us on this call today, and his team on really driving innovation and partnering really closely to further our capabilities in Open edX and leveraging all the strengths that Open edX brings to what we do.
I'll go next. My name is David. I'm David Morales. I'm the CIO and Senior Vice President of Technology for Western Governors University. I've been in this role for now a little over 6 years, and it's just been phenomenal to see how technology can really transform education and how it enables students to be very successful. It's been quite refreshing to see how we focus. We remain to be focused on our student success and the inherent worth of every single individual that we have an opportunity to serve. As part of the technology department for WGU, equally to what Courtney said, we have people in Raleigh, in Phoenix, Arizona, in Salt Lake City, which I find myself literally 2 doors down from Courtney's office, and also in Mexico, across the country. We're a over 500 group of engineers doing the technology for this university, plus contractors and other work that we have going on.
Fabulous. Ed, can I hand it to you?
Absolutely. I'm so pleased to be here today. I'm Ed Zarecor. I'm the VP of Engineering for the Open edX project at Axim Collaborative. I have been personally working on Open edX since 2012, and I am really excited to be starting this next chapter with WGU and focusing on building a platform that's shared with the world that supports competency-forward programs in a robust way. And I'll popcorn over to Stephanie.
Great. Stephanie Khurana, I am CEO of Axim Collaborative, and just delighted to be here today, knowing that this whole group cares so deeply about how to open access for more learners and deepen its impact. Axim Collaborative was built on edX and formed out of the sale of edX, which edX is now commercialized, but we have the opportunity to steward the Open edX platform, and then also to think about ways to transform education to work pathways by fostering funding and scaling the best innovations through collaborative partnerships that drive out better outcomes for millions of learners. And so with WGU being at the forefront of that with over 180,000 enrolled learners, and through looking at competency-based programs, which we know is a key way to unlock opportunities, overcome barriers, and reach more learners. We are just thrilled to be able to have this opportunity. And I just should say, by way of background, so Axim is a joint endeavor between Harvard and MIT. And so through the investment of resources that went into developing edX, we actually now have Open edX as a free-to-use platform to be able to scale more impact around the globe. So we're just excited to have this opportunity to share learnings in a collaborative way to help further the field.
Fabulous. Well, as I say, thank you all very much for being here. For our participants, we do have the option of Q&A. So if you want to submit some questions, we absolutely would welcome those, and we will moderate those and add those into the mix. But if I can start off, Stephanie, with you, as we have you, would love to hear a little bit more. I mentioned at the beginning that WGU is the first mission-aligned organization. What is a mission-aligned organization, and how can this collaboration between WGU and the Open edX community that was just announced foster greater innovation and collaboration in this field of competency-based education?
Great. Well, we are excited to have a mission-aligned organization, which is exactly what it sounds like. As you heard us giving our introductions, I think we all care deeply about reaching learners that otherwise might not have access to a quality education. And so by having WGU as a mission-aligned organization to Open edX, it really helps to contribute to steering the thought leadership along with the other community members who are helping to guide the roadmap. And so that includes Harvard, it includes MIT, it includes 2U, and it also includes community members. And so the reach is global, and having thought leaders at the forefront of shaping the platform and the community in collaboration with others is really critical. And, you know, I feel like it goes deeper than just the organization itself. It really comes down to the people. As Ed mentioned, WGU has been a longtime partner of Open edX and been contributing in many ways, driving innovations across the field. And this just is an opportunity to formalize that relationship in a way that helps guide resources and assets in a much more strategic way. So, you know, the partnership really with David and Courtney and just many others within the organization, I think are really at root of this collaborative effort.
Thank you. And Courtney, if I can ask you sort of a similar question, why did WGU choose to become a mission-aligned organization as part of the Open edX community?
Well, WGU now is the largest nonprofit university in the US. Our technical infrastructure and those strategic decisions really matter. And so when we were founded almost 30 years ago by 19 Western governors who saw the internet come about, WGU's founding was in this moment of how can we better open up access and completion to more students through technology. And so at the core of our equity ethos is tech enablement of education and access. And so there's so much shared alignment and shared vision with the students that we serve. And as we have, as Stephanie mentioned, 187,000 currently enrolled full-time students with us across 50 states. They're enrolled across 80 different academic programs, bachelor's and master's programs, as well as certificate programs across our 4 schools: business, health, education, and technology, ensuring that we have the most personalized, flexible learning environment that we can matters, as we're, one of the largest universities in the country. I think we also recognize the power that comes with the open community and the ability for us to contribute code as well as learning what other institutions are doing. And really it comes down, at WGU, you'll often hear us talk about, it's about that one individual student, but it's about how to operate at scale and provide that personalized and adaptive learning experience for a student. And so our partnership with Open edX and this platform is just key to that.
Thank you. And David, I'm curious for your thoughts too. Can you perhaps give us a bit of an overview of WGU and your use of Open edX, and how you have addressed the unique challenges and opportunities presented by implementing competency-based education within the Open edX platform?
Oh, definitely. I'm assuming that's for me, so I'll say.
Yes, I'm sorry, David. Yes.
All right, it's
Two
all right.
Davids.
We both look alike. Kidding, we don't. But anyway, I'll tell you the following. At WGU, one of the things, let me take us back about 5 years ago, perhaps even more. At WGU, we have several programs that we serve our students with. And these programs do run in the specific LMSs. Every single program has very unique needs for multimedia or integrations or specific components of the learning process for those students, specifically for competency-based. So we used to have this system that was enabling us to be successful to a certain degree with it, that unfortunately started facing some challenges. It was actually acquired by another company. They started making changes to it, and the changes weren't necessarily moving as fast as we needed them to be to truly serve the students the way we wanted. That's when we started to do some due diligence to figure out, okay, what is a technology platform that will enable us to provide the right data mechanisms for us to understand where our students are struggling within the content? What is the LMS that can enable us to reutilize components that can help us figure components of the program or the course, not the entire course. So we did a lot of research. We talked to a lot of different companies. We actually did some POCs with some other LMSs out there. And among those, it was Open edX. One of the reasons why we were extremely excited about Open edX is because it's open source modality. And it is specific to us understanding the architecture and the data flow of the components that enable us to then create the right abstraction layer for us to abstract and push the data for our students. We saw the promise of this product, and that's when we decided to start investing in that abstraction layer more, as we were understanding better what Open edX could offer through the open source modality that is part of the program. With that, we embrace OEX specifically because of to begin with, it's a very well-established, well-founded, non-for-profit organization backing it up, Axim that is, and it's proven scalability on Open edX. It's a great way of us to reuse content as we continue to create this process. David Perkinson can tell you more about those details, but I will say the flexibility, scalability, maintainability of the system is definitely something that has been extremely attractive for us as we continue to embrace this for competency-based education, as we really need to get data for our students so we can support them just in time.
Fantastic. And just to sort of pull on the thread, you mentioned open source. And Stephanie, question for you, Ed, you should also feel free to chime in if you want to as well. Curious from your perspective, what the key benefits are of leveraging Open edX's open source technology for institutions like WGU and others that are implementing CBE at scale.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that because, you know, the idea of open source, broadly speaking, is the more people who engage, the more people who contribute, the more people who benefit. And we have missions to help reach millions of learners who otherwise aren't getting access to an education. So as many learners as WGU is supporting and others are, you know, major ministries around the world, we're still just scratching the surface on what's needed to be able to help provide quality learning to everyone everywhere. And so by having an open source community, the more people who come in and contribute, whether it's helping to further the roadmap priorities, where one group of developers maybe in one part of the globe helps to contribute to a shared platform, that means that you don't use resources again and be redundant if the same set of developers is doing the same thing in their own location. So you get the benefit of shared development, which just lowers the cost for everybody. And then also helps improve the quality for everybody. So the more robust the ecosystem is, the more people it's going to reach. And that's what we really need to be furthering, particularly, you know, in the world today. So I think that's one key piece, is just this shared ability to leverage resources, but also to further the field. And I think that's where the competency-based education comes in. I think most people know that not measuring on seat time, but competency can really help further student learning. And but it's so hard to implement and do, and then to do it again at scale across degree programs is really important. And so I think a lot of people aspire to that, but just you run into all kinds of small barriers that end up becoming much bigger ones together. And by able to help push the learning and the competencies that get built into a platform that, again, everybody can use, I'm hopeful that this will just, again, go back to helping more learners succeed. And Ed, please chime in, because you bring a kind of the technical and on the ground perspective of what does it mean for developers and instructional designers and others to be able to leverage the platform and community.
Yeah, happy to. I mean, one of the early goals, sort of big goals at edX, was to touch the lives of 1 billion learners. And one of the insights we had from very, very early on was that wouldn't be possible, you know, if it was the job of any single organization. It would take an open source platform that was used around the world to get anywhere near that goal of 1 billion learners. You know, I'd say that's, you know, 10 plus years in, we feel like we are right about at the 100 million mark for Open edX, 98 million learners. So we're a tenth of the way there. We still have a lot of work to do. But you know, between WGU and the other couple thousands of organizations around the world that use the platform, we are actually making a big difference in the lives of learners and you know, improving economic mobility worldwide.
Thanks, Ed.
And I say, David, I think you're trying to make a point as well.
I was just going to add to what you were saying, Ed, if I may.
Yeah.
An extremely valuable component of the open sourceness of Open edX is that institution like WGU, we have a complete understanding of the entire vision of what we want to do for our students across the entire journey of our students. Under Courtney, actually, we have somebody that is responsible for the entire student experience. And having the ability to see the actual technology architecture and components of the technology we're going to use to provide the content to our student is fundamental for us across the entire enterprise architecture. So technically speaking, or technology speaking, it is extremely a key piece being open source, because it allows us to understand completely how to integrate what data flows, how to extract data, where to bring experiences for our students, even more than when it's a black box.
Yeah, I'll just like one quick thing to follow up on that. I mean, the core architecture of the platform is to provide kind of the primitive building blocks that any organization needs to deploy education at scale, with the understanding that each organization will add its own integrations to solve particular problems in their context. So what David describes is exactly the goal of the fundamental architecture of the platform. Back to you, Annie.
Looking at it from kind of a content design and production standpoint too, I think one of the things that was really interesting to the program development organization within WGU is that we have a centralized curriculum. So we are not led by a professor or a course instructor. We're led by the curriculum itself. And OEX doesn't enforce restrictions on time, on calendars, or on grade books. And it really gives us the ability to set the curriculum up to flow within that context where it's kind of recognizing student progress and, as you said, not student seat time. So our centralized curriculum operates around skills, competencies, and then content. And the way that Open edX works allows us to present it in that way that gives us that ability to provide the competency-based education, but also to allow students to really move at their own pace.
Fabulous. Thank you. And actually, all of you have brilliantly teed up my next question to Amber, which is, as you hear this and you think about WGU's model of providing competency-based education on the Open edX platform, how might this serve as a model to other institutions looking to implement CBE?
Yeah. Absolutely. And thank you for, again, teeing that up so well. I think what we hear often at CBEN is, again, a lot of institutions who are coming to the table want to do this. But we also say to them, there's not one way to do CBE, because again, all of our learners are going to be different. Our contexts are going to be different. And so I love that this allows us to build together, to find ways to learn from each other over time, and not just in the practice of CBE, but the technology to enable and support CBE. And so hearing this, the leadership that WGU has taken and providing insights and building with, we just know that more and more institutions that might come into this fold are going to, again, continue to help us all serve learners better, and we can continue to innovate faster. And CBEN has always been a network of innovation, collaboration, and action. And I think this represents the best of all three of those visions, to say, how do we scale faster? How do we go faster together? Because we're all able to contribute from our unique places in delivering for students. So it's very exciting to see. I also think about just cost effectiveness. We hear from institutions over and over that that at this moment in time, the faculty is no longer their issue. It is all the infrastructure changes at the institution that is their barrier to implementation and scale. And so knowing that there is a cost-effective, affordable way for more institutions to get on board with this movement is a huge, again, gift to the community, to be able to say it is possible. We've been working on the technology enablement of CBE for as long as WGU's been around, and certainly as long as CBEN's been around, because you just cannot do this without technology. This modern implementation of CBE, that we all started trying to do this in the 70s and 80s, and it couldn't reach scale because we didn't have the tools. Now we're proving out we have the tools, it's possible, and it's possible at scale, and again, welcoming more and more institutions to the fold.
And again, another brilliant tee up. I did not orchestrate this, but I'm thrilled. Like, David and Ed, really question for you, like, what specific tools and functionalities within the platform do you think have been most instrumental in streamlining the authoring process for WGU's programs?
You can start, David.
Okay. So, I mean, I think in terms of how we look at the authoring of courses and programs here, I think it's the ability to break down into courses, sections, lessons, and units. So it's a very kind of structured way that we present our learning material. I think the other thing that's really important to us is that OEX allows us to use it as a vehicle. So we can publish our courses in OEX, but we are not prohibited from using the best available learning resources that exist outside of the OEX platform to present our students the best material at the right point in the courseware for them. So we still have access to an entire world of content, but it all can come from that OEX shell. So that for us is extremely helpful.
I was going to highlight that the Western Governors team has been partnering with us around how to improve the reusability of content, even for a couple of years now, well before we actually established this partnership. So one of the areas where we've been investing is building out content libraries, which really enable reuse across courses. I see there's a question about that in the Q&A as well. But it was a partnership between David Perkinson's team and the product and engineering team and the team at Axim to build out the feature, the requirements, the user stories. That feature is now available in the most recent release. We're continuing to iterate on it and expand its capabilities, but that's direct evidence of the sort of the fruits of this partnership already, and a feature that we expect to become kind of one of the critical differentiators for the platform over time.
Thank you. And thank you for also addressing that question. And a reminder to our audience, you are welcome to submit questions, and I will try and integrate them into the flow. And hopefully, Roy, we did answer your question. If we didn't, come back and ask it again. Courtney or David, I would love to hear a little more about how WGU leverages the flexibility and scalability of the platform to deliver personalized learning experiences. You're obviously working at considerable scale, and so that is no small feat. Would love to hear more about that.
Sure. So, I mean, I think as we kind of look at the flexibility and scalability, obviously the functionality that Ed just talked about that allows us to reuse sections of content and more quickly kind of create new courses from components of courses that are already existing that we think are suited really well to the goals that we're trying to accomplish within the course or the program. I also look at things like, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but like the community that's out there building X blocks that allows us to provide new functionality to our students and to our design teams to execute kind of new ways to bring kind of deeper levels of engagement within the course experience. So like looking at tools like AI, right? So how can we execute AI functionality within courses? Engaging with the development community on an open source project allows us to tap into lots of different talent around the world that can build tools that we can then enable in Open edX and deploy to our students and to our design staff here at WGU. So that kind of that speed, but also the scope that's available to us is second to none.
Annie, I think what I might just add to that, if we zoom out and zoom back, distance education started when students were watching a TV and watching a lecture. And then it evolved over time to online, where it's like VHS tapes were sent out, not just watching TV, but then sending out VHS tapes. And then we took these large, expensive, big textbooks that you would buy on a college campus for $300, $400, and we digitized those. And now where we are in terms of technology, particularly with AI and how important data and understanding the data and then how to better deliver personalized education, you just sort of think about in the thousands of years of history of humans teaching and learning. In this last 50 years or so, there's just this massive acceleration. So from a very strategic play, institutions ensuring that you have, especially with us with one master curriculum, the ability to really tool and design the learning experience and to understand the data and what's happening with the students is really critical to truly deliver more of a online learning experience. Like all of our students, our children, our nieces and nephews, like they are consuming a digital experience that looks very different in their regular life than when they go to school or when they go to learn online. And unless all of us sort of recognize this inflection point that we're at and really push on the edge of innovation to provide that personalized and adaptive learning experience, we could become obsolete.
Yeah.
And I would just add on, Courtney, I think that's completely spot on, and also just pushing into the how do we help people, and I know you all are doing this, it's the knowledge and dissemination of knowledge, but it's the action of, and what do you do with the knowledge and the demonstration that CBE really hits in on. and being able to facilitate those performance-based assessments and other things that are critical. And we're seeing this from high school students who are obviously choosing to come into more CBE programs because they don't want to sit and get in a lecture. They've not come up through their education in that way. They're much more self-directed. They understand what they need to learn. They want to go learn it on their time. And so being able to welcome again all of post-secondary learning into the space is going to be really critical, important for the industry.
Right. I think, Amber, what you're bridging into is, you know, moving away from the lecture model into what is more experiential, authentic learning. And that's what young people are demanding. And that's what we have to be able to deliver. So your sort of out of the box MLS or LMS is not sort of taking that into account. And so for us, we're moving towards, you know, a notion of all of our courses being market leading courses, which involves design elements around experiential simulations, that authentic learning, and assessments will follow that as well as we continue to evolve how we truly and rigorously validate and assess our students' skills and competencies throughout a course and then throughout an entire academic program.
And if I can ask a follow-up question there, and you sort of talk about this sort of rapid rate of innovation, I'd love to hear a little bit about how WGU plans to collaborate with the Open edX community to advance the development of tools of resources that will support CBE in this rapidly accelerating environment. And question for anybody who'd like to answer, but maybe David and Courtney, you could start.
Well, I can tell you really quick that we're looking to help accelerate from different fronts. The very first one is, how do we enable and support the product roadmap to define what features and capabilities we need to start considering for students of competency-based education. Secondly, we also want to improve the adoption of the technology and the reliability of the technology by improving the CI/CD pipelines to deploy it. How can we enable, and perhaps I'm being a little selfish on this one, but how can I enable my team to deploy the newer versions of Open edX faster with less testing and less validation, because we have created the automation required for that technology validation. We also want to enable the architecture to continue to be modular and expandable, such that we can continue to create abstraction layers or wrappers around components that we know are very specific to WGU and interconnect through the right APIs so we can do the service to our students. So those would be the three main technology fronts in which we're hoping that we're going to enable and help the open source community achieve and deliver.
And maybe David Perkins, and you can speak from our program development side of things, as Morales is sort of our big, large tech scope, and then specific to building the content and courses.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I look forward to like a kind of an ever improving kind of set of tools that allow us to create experiences within the Open edX platform that are analogous to what students see in other places. I think the student expectations of online learning are going to continue to increase. The people are very accustomed to high levels of polish, presentation, depth, interactivity, engagement, and that is the kind of the furthering of those tools to enable us to deliver those experiences through OEX, I think, are something that we're really excited about.
I know it's David, I love what you said about, and all of you, about iterating. We can't iterate fast enough at this point, right? And it really is going to take all of us building as quickly as we can together to respond to this. And so I really, again, appreciate the open nature, the way WGU is stepping in and edX are stepping into this, and then also creating a path for others to join. Because the pace of change, even for adult learners to the K-12 learners, right, where the intergenerational nature of what we're trying to provide is going to put a lot of strains and demands on our systems. And so this is the moment to really, again, step in and iterate as quickly as possible. And this is the way to do it.
And I might just add to that, Amber, along that line that, you know, we're such a large institution. when we're implementing things, to implement to, 190,000 active students is a lot. And there's a lot of amazing partners. I wish I could see all your faces here of the hundreds of people on that are also contributing to the community. There's a lot that we can learn from all of you to help us move faster, and we're, our commitment to helping build the platform as well. We see this as a very, bi-directional learning experience and contribution.
No, I appreciate that comment too, because I think there's so much going on around the world in terms of what does it mean to create a dynamic learning environment that also connects into what labor market needs are in this changing labor force, and how AI is reshaping opportunities both in education and in work, and that being able to align all of those and understand how it feeds back into curriculum is just going to be so important for shaping kind of the learners of today and tomorrow. So kind of having broader engagement and listening and learning across the full ecosystem is really essential.
I'd love to shift the conversation a little bit now to talk about student support and engagement and student success. I mean, everyone has talked about it in their introductions. I know it's something that's very common and important to all of the organizations represented here today. Would love to hear maybe from Courtney and David a little bit about how the Open edX platform has enabled you to support your programs while maintaining high levels of student support and engagement.
Sure. So I might just point to, our mission is to change lives for the better. And we do that through open access. So access, but with completion. So the I is towards ensuring any student that chooses WGU, that they start and finish with us. And so we think about that in several different dimensions. And then I'll have David Perkinson speak to the learning environment. We do have a one-on-one mentoring relationship. So every one of our students has a faculty member that works from them from day one until they graduate and beyond. And that faculty mentor is helping them with life and logistics and academics, and maybe even, take this course next. So some of that academic progress, career, etc. And then we have instructors who work and are deep domain experts within a course. And so the technology with Open edX also allows us to have this disaggregated faculty model to ensure access with completion between our mentors, our course instructors, and our evaluators. So we see that sort of triad of support for the students, being able to provide timely intervention, and we can get into that a little bit of just, it requires knowing and understanding the student and their data along the student journey, and then being able to serve up both digital nudges and human interventions and human touch points just at the right time to decrease, the probability of them, stopping out or failing an assessment, etc. And so the OEX platform helps facilitate some of those core tenets of not only the CBE model, but also our disaggregated faculty model.
Yeah, I mean, Courtney covered a lot of what I was going to talk about, like how Open edX allows data to flow into our systems, kind of a broader set of WGU systems that enable this understanding of student success and performance that then drive human intervention, which I think is so unique and so central to WGU and really how we aim to, like we talk about one by one here at WGU, that's how we're able to deliver on the promise of one by one. Looking at it from like a kind of a design and development perspective, our teams are intimately familiar with Open edX. We know how to execute within Open edX. That affords us the opportunity to really reach scale. We will always have goals around being able to produce quality content, a broader range of programs to reach a kind of a much broader set of students. Our familiarity and comfort level of OEX gives us the ability to deliver at that scale and continue to kind of put more and more new programs into the field to attract kind of an kind of ever increasing student body. So it really kind of operationalizes our ambition for scale.
That's terrific. And David Morales, if I can ask you a question that sort of pulls on this. thread that's around data and analytics. I'm curious from your perspective, and you talked about it a little bit in your introduction. How is your team? How are you using data and analytics within the platform to provide personalized learning and improve student success rates?
At WGU, we believe that we advance outcome one student at a time. And if you think about the number of students that we have to do that 190,000 times one at a time. So for us to be able to accomplish that, we really need to start understanding all the data points of our students in their journey of learning process. We need to be capable of extract the data into what we call a very specific profile of the student that enables us to understand them better, that enables us to comprehend when our student is struggling with certain content, they've spent so much time doing this, or we can tell that this student has invested this number of times logging into the system to answer the same assessment, or we understand that this student is struggling this, such that we can now, with that set of data points, we can start doing event-driven for execution of support of that student. We can now start providing information just in time for course instructors, for them to reach out to those students, for those mentors to understand better how to serve those students based on all the different data points that we're collecting. So for us, it goes beyond data analytics. It's all about how much can I learn from this student and what can we actually generate the right experience for a student based on their own personal needs. So that's what we're just really focused on, the data aspect of Open edX, and how can we extract it and present it to the right audiences just in time with the right amount of information and actionable points to support that student. Because again, and I said this as I started answering this question, we advance outcomes one student at a time. That's why data is so important for us.
I love that because I think that I just want to call it the shift in attention in the way that we've talked about data analytics in higher ed. You know, everybody got really excited about predictive analytics, but that forced students into very specific paths and made assumptions about who they are and what they were bringing to the table. And this really is about that personalization that you just said, is how do I meet this student, this one student where they're at, get them what they need when they need it, and not force them into, again, a same pipeline as everybody else. That's not what they need. They need what they need in that moment. So sorry, it gets really exciting when you know that this is really happening. And again, just want to call out the pivot for anyone else coming from that background in higher ed, that this is really a big shift in perspective and how data can be used.
One thing I was going to highlight in this vein as well is, we realize at the center of the open source project that so many of the experts who have sort of the most innovative and most interesting ideas about how to serve learners, identify at-risk learners, are members of the community. Like, we cannot predict the innovations that the community will make. So instead, we build a platform that's open and extensible and allows diverse organizations to kind of prove what the best version of detecting learners who need help is in their context, and then ideally share that information back so that it becomes something that becomes a benefit to all the users of the platform.
And I think that I must underline what Ed just mentioned. That is so fundamental for true innovation. So instead of us trying to create an abstraction layer that is going to mimic some of that, it's hard, technically speaking, but if we can go to the actual source of the data, to the architecture of the platform, that's a game changer. So I could not highlight, underline, bold more what Ed just mentioned.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to shift a little bit to talk about the broader community here, and I'm going to pull in some questions that we're getting in the chat, mindful of time. So if you've got any other questions, please put them in now. And if panelists, you want to weave in some answers to those questions brilliantly as you go, that would be hugely appreciated. We want to be responsive. But I'm going to ask Sergey's question, and I think, Amber, you may have some thoughts about this, maybe also David. It's mentioned that implementing CBE is particularly hard, which corresponds to Sergey's experience. In many cases, partners skipped implementing CBE, not because of the technology, but because of procedural moments, agreeing on competency definitions, rubrics to measure competencies, with all of these things evolving in time. Yes, that is a whole other webinar, but I want to be attentive to answering that. Just curious, Amber, maybe start with you about your thoughts on how, because we are keen to support other organizations who want to move in this direction. So curious about your gut response to that question, that important question.
I think I might start with, CBE challenges the notion of traditional higher ed programs, and that they are individual endeavors for me to, as a faculty member, to create. And shifting to that program level outcome, that collection of what did the faculty create, what is this program intended to deliver, so that we have some kind of North Star to reach and reach those agreements around. And so that's where I think just shifting out of that course by course model, saying, what is the program? Where is this program supposed to lead on the other side of completion? Who are the partners that help me shape that? Can help folks kind of get out of their individualized mindset and think about what they're creating on the whole for learners. And then certainly put lots of don't go it alone. We are also seeing more institutions collaborate and partner, especially with their industry partners. So we have a couple of community colleges in Merced, California that just responded to an ag tech evolution with a certificate across 11 community colleges. Certainly WGU can accomplish this across all their diverse programs. So it is possible, but I think the big shift for everyone is coming out of the course mindset and thinking about that program and how you build that together. That's my really quick, it's much harder than that, but really quick guidance at first.
Thank you. And I don't know if others want to join in, but Stephanie, maybe I'll ask you the question as a leader in this community. What are your perspectives on the innovative use of this platform and how WGU is using it to support their model?
So I think that starting first with designing around the needs of learners who might not be persisting through historical or traditional pathways, I think is a really important note. Most students and learners are oftentimes taking care of their family or working at the same time. And so schedules and timing becomes really critical, as well as meeting students where they are. If they have to go back and learn some things maybe that need to be updated, or work or learn at a time that might be odd hours. I mean, all of that comes into mind of saying, what are the needs that learners today have? What are the barriers you need to overcome? And using that as the vantage point to drive innovation. And in order to do that, you're designing first around the learners as opposed to the programs or the systems or the structures. And so in some ways it becomes an open kind of palette to then figure out what is going to work for an organization. I mean, Amber, the organizations you support aren't, they're not starting from the ground up to design this. It's like looking to say, well, what are existing programs and pathways, and where do we start and how do we begin? Because if we do these programs, we can now reach more learners. And so because I think WGU, brings that mindset and drives innovation in that way, I think that ends up becoming, a learning for others where you might not know where to start or how to proceed, but this idea of having a platform that can have learning designed, through instructional designers, even at a classroom level, it doesn't have to be the full curriculum level, the classroom level, and build up. And then to be able to have the data and analytics to track the full student journey, that's often very hard to do as well, from enrolling to maybe taking a break and then coming back. These are all things that can be hard with existing structures in place. So I think innovating with an open mindset, starting first with the needs of the learners, is a really important takeaway that can apply to everybody, regardless of where you are in your program development.
Thank you. And Courtney, as you reflect on sort of the impact that we can have as a community working together, do you have thoughts about how we might continue to extend the platform's capabilities to support CBE broadly across higher education?
So if I may, actually just do a bit of a clarion call to everyone on this call. The way humans are consuming information, the way that we're learning, the way that we're interacting with bots, machine learning, like this is fundamentally changing how we as humans consume information and learn. And this community is probably best positioned than any community out there to harness our learning designers, our instructional designers, the tech folks, to actually really come up with creating digital experiences that maintain that uniquely human element and help us continue to evolve as a human species. Will there be a time where our machines become smarter than us? I mean, these are real existential questions that I'm posing here to just kind of push it beyond what we're thinking about here. Traditional institutions are kind of going about it a different way through their research centers and different things. We're a community that's saying we believe that tech enablement can truly democratize and provide open, affordable, high quality education across the globe. And this community becomes even more salient and important, I think, at this moment, given where technology is going. So it's an exciting time, I would say, to be part of this community across all the different entities, wherever you're sitting in the world and whatever vantage point you're sitting in, right? Whether it's David Morales, who's stewarding our entire tech infrastructure, me, who's stewarding our academic programs to say, how do we continue to create the most workforce aligned and human-centric learning experiences? David Perkinson's team of 300 plus faculty who are designing all of our courses and assessments. I mean, it's an exciting time, and we really want to be contributing to the community, but also learning from all of you as you have exciting projects and platforms that you're working on.
Thank you. And to sort of reflect, and I'll ask you this question, Amber. I think as you hear this conversation and you think about the applications for this technology for other organizations and institutions, I am curious if you have advice or thoughts around how a community college or a four-year school who's thinking about implementing a skills forward micro-credential or even full CBE program, and like what does that mean?
Yeah, I would say come join us, especially because I think what we've outlined here is that we want you, we need you at the table, that collectively we need to understand how to make this most flexible for all learners. And if community colleges are not at the table, then we're not reaching populations of people that I know everyone wants to be able to reach. The other piece is just pushing us on the affordability of these tools. The more we build together, the more we drive collective costs down for the types of tools that need to exist, but also need to still be created. Courtney, I love your comment around the agents and thinking about the role of AI and thinking about feedback and being able to help people get access to all these different types of learning tools. But we need to make sure that all types of institutions are at the table. And that is what I hope you hear from this group today is if you're out there and you're at a community college, this is for you too. And it might seem a little overwhelming to hear like David's got a team of the size he does, but that doesn't mean that's what you have to be at this table, that we're all here, again, committed to this cause, and hope you'll join us.
Yes, and I'd like to second that. I've been working closely with a number of community colleges and leaders. We are very keen to support pilots that are able to leverage work in this space and take advantage of some of these features and make sure that we're able to provide in a very accessible way the ability for schools serving all learners access to this technology. So thank you.
I was going to quickly
yes,
add, Annie, we genuinely want to know about barriers and friction that organizations are facing on both the program development and the technology side when trying to implement CBE. So we're the Open edX side. We are a very open community, as is CBEN. So please reach out to us. You will help make a better product and project for everyone if you let us know what it is that you need and what is failing you today.
Thank you, Ed. I know we haven't got to all of the questions. We will make a copy of the questions, and I recognize some of your names, so we'll make sure that we get responses. We didn't talk about this, so I'm going to ask if we could just quickly address Josh's question before we say goodbye, which is sort of better understanding the scale. His question is, how ambitious will WGU be when it comes to migrating current course materials and even partners to Open edX?
Well, so right now our portfolio is probably in the vicinity of about 1,000 courses. Anywhere between 65 and 75% of those courses already sort of exist within OEX. Certainly we have desires to get that number as close to 100% as possible. So as we continue to develop new courses and programs, that will increase the percentage. But then also one of the key mandates of my team is to constantly be looking at our existing portfolio, how we can improve it. So over time, the courses that maybe are a little bit older or are in need of refresh will be refreshed and will be authored within OEX. So our goal is to get to as close to 100% as possible.
Fantastic. This has been a wonderful conversation. I want to thank you all very much for your time. Open edX has a conference coming up this summer in Paris, July 1st through 4th. You are all invited to join us. I'm thrilled that David and Courtney will be joining us on the stage, and we'll have a chance to have another wonderful conversation with them. So thank you for being here. Thank you, panelists. And we'll send a recording out, and you can share this conversation with other folks as well. A great pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Amazing. Do I need to do anything to like save the attendee list before I sign out?
Yeah, just hold it open. I'm going to grab all of the chat, okay?
Yeah.
Usually you can just save it. Sorry, Jenna, just give me another second.
Okay.
Okay, I'm all set. Thank you. I'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, bye.